You will never, I'm sorry to be blunt, but you will never build wealth if you keep making the exact same mistakes. This video hopefully is a wake up call for you. If you're trying to build wealth, but you find you keep struggling and you keep hitting a wall, you keep getting to a certain point and you can't go beyond it. So hopefully this video right here is a wake up call for you and help to get you beyond that, moving in the right direction. Today, I'm going to break down 7 different areas of wealth building myths, or not myths, but wealth building elements that keep you moving in the right direction. And if you don't have them correctly fixated in your mind, you will move backwards or not build wealth at all. So my name is Jason Ellinger. I'm the CEO of Taika Translations. I've been an investor for over 20 years now. And if you want to grow wealth, be financially free, create a financial independent life, like, subscribe, and follow this channel for more information about that, because I post information about this every single week to help people do just that. Wealth building is never done. I mean, okay, if you're dead, it's done. But barring being dead, it's never done. You continue to make those steps towards building wealth throughout your entire lifetime. And that's in a lot of different areas. So without further ado, let's get into it. The first thing, chasing the woman in the red dress. And that is chasing quick money. Chasing quick money or quick deals. Things that promise the world and end up empty as a turtle shell in the hot Texas sun in the middle of the desert. Empty and kind of crunchy. So don't be one of those. If you want to live a life with no regret, this will keep you there. Continually being distracted by the woman in the red dress, the proverbial woman in the red dress. And that is every time you start making money or have some kind of margin, you go after some kind of foolish endeavor that doesn't work. And you have a track record of this. If your wife says you have a track record, or your husband says you have a track record of doing this, anytime you have extra money, odds are you got a track record of doing this, so you should stop. So this happens at all levels and to most people. I mean, lots of successful people I know, they've grown some wealth, and then all of a sudden, all of these little opportunities start to pop up all over the place. These shiny, glittery objects. Invest your money here and it will grow fast. Invest your money there and it will grow fast. It has nothing to do with what you know and what your skill set or anything around what you do. But if you invest it with us, it will grow fast. That's the woman in the red dress. She will get you every time. She will burn you and she will leave you. So do not chase after those bright, shiny, glittery things. Now, some of you might be better at this than others, but at every single level of wealth, there is a woman in the red dress just waiting for you to pay attention to her. Don't pay attention to her. Build discipline in your life to commit to the thing that you do and do it well and stay focused on it. So what are some of the valuable skills that you need to make sure that you don't get distracted by the woman in the red dress? All right. So one of the main things you need to have well practiced and just have peace with, and so many people don't, is developing a very powerful contentment with what you have while you work on the big thing. You have to be okay with what you've got while you work on the big thing. Then budgeting so that you have margin, living on less than you make so that you can focus on the thing that you're building. And then having the discipline to dream big and then acting big, taking massive action towards that dream for a really long time until it works. So what did I just say? What are the 3 things inside of this thing to help you stay away from the woman in the red dress? 1, be content with what you got and where you are so that you can get to the next level. 2, budget so you have margin in your life and in your finances. Make sure that there's something left over at the end of the month. Don't let it be the other way. It should be that there's money left over at the end of the month, not month left over at the end of the money. Got that? You hopefully got that. All right. And then the discipline to dream big and then take the massive action on the big dream thing for a long time until it works. With this exception, Winston Churchill said, never give in, except to convictions of honor and good sense. If it makes good sense for you to stop, because, well, the thing is a failure. The product is a failure. Henry Cloud said, great leaders know the principle of when something needs to end. When it needs to end, when it needs to die, when it's dead and long been dead, but it's still in your life, it needs to be cut off. Okay, so there is a time to cut something out of your life if it's killing your dream or killing your ability to get to the dream. And these 3 things help you to keep from being distracted by the woman in the red dress, which is quick money, fast things, growth things here and there and everywhere that people promise is going to work and they never do. So only invest in things that have track records in that case. There's one more thing here. In keeping yourself from being distracted from the woman in the red dress. That's very important. And that is the paradox principle. And it's this, it's you have to maintain the ability to be ruthlessly disciplined with acknowledging what is true and real in your life. And then never lose the discipline to understand that in the end, will see through the fog and you will persevere. However, ruthlessly being disciplined with yourself about the current reality. You may weigh 300 pounds and you may be sitting on the couch and be like, man, there's no way I can get up off this couch and lose this weight. Well, there is. But the harsh reality is that you're 300 pounds and it's going to be hard. And that's reality. But if you get up and you walk, just start walking for 1 mile, a single mile, every single day for 6 months, you know what's going to happen? You're going to get some muscles. You're going to get some fluids flowing, probably going to drop a few pounds, and you're probably going to feel a lot better. So if that's the reality that you're facing, or if you're financially fat, financially out of shape, that may be the reality that you're facing. But what do? We address the reality, and then we build a plan forwards. But we do address that we are in this reality. And we look forwards with the hope that one day in the future, and we're going to maintain that discipline, that we will persevere, and that this will be a defining moment of our life. But it's going to take a while. But you have to be able to commit to that process. And these things help you to keep from getting distracted by the shiny thing, the next amazing thing, the next thing that's going to make you lose weight fast without having to do anything, or get a pile of money without having to wait or do any work or invest or really truly invest and toil over the numbers. So you make sure that you make the right decision. No, it's going to be difficult. The current reality is probably not the reality that you want. The reality in the future is possible. However, if you're going to get there, you're going to have to commit to the big dream and then do big actions to get to the big dream and then do that for a really long time, never giving up, like Winston Churchill said, and keeping that end in mind that I will get there, but today sucks. So if that's you, just keep this mentality in mind that at every level of wealth, that woman in the red dress, that shiny object thing, it's going to come up. And no matter where you are in the process, like even today, I've got opportunities that come up and it's like, man, that would be a great opportunity. I would love to go to that thing. When I was like, I don't do that thing. I know nothing about that industry. Don't, because it's not me. It's not my thing. It's not for us. We do this. And this guiding set of principles keeps us in that direction. So we don't lose our head on something that's not going to be profitable in the long term. So I'm just hoping to drive that point home. The woman in the dress, she exists at all levels, and your ability to stay stone cold focused on where you're going, and at the same time addressing the current reality. It's maybe not what you want it to be, but down there is. And those things keep you away from getting distracted by this incredible woman in the red dress. All right, falling into the lifestyle creep trap. This is the second thing that keeps people from getting wealthy. They start to get a little bit of success, and all of a sudden, the guy who was making $45,000 the year before, now all of a sudden he makes $70,000. Whoa, man, big bucks. Well, all right, so he goes and gets a $75,000 truck. It is the worst decision that you can make. Or a $50,000 truck. Same deal. You should never have more than 50% of your annual income in a truck. In anything with wheels. That means the whole total household. So if you make $75,000, you should not have more than how much? 37,500? Is that what it is? Something like that. Somewhere close to that number. In anything to do with wheels. So that means that you get a $10,000 truck, and your wife, she gets a $17,000 500 vehicle, because obviously we want to demonstrate to our spouses that we love them. So make sure her vehicle is nice and it's more expensive than yours, most likely, unless yours is like a service vehicle and it brings home the bacon. And then in that case, you might want to even those out a little bit. In any case, the point is, lifestyle creep is real. It happens, and it happens to every single person who grows in wealth. And as you grow through the levels of wealth, it's always a temptation. So once the moment that you have margin, it's not for you just to go blow it on something stupid. It's for you to take that money and to put it into the plan that's building your wealth. For example, right now, whenever I make extra money, it goes exactly where I have pre-planned for it to go. Now that may sound a little boring, but when you do this for a really long time and you got money that comes in and then it goes to these places that you said you wanted a long time ago, and then those things start happening, and then they just happen all the time because you planned so far back and you started saving money for those, and they just keeps happening. It gets pretty dang fun. So if you want to have that kind of fun where you actually have real stuff that has real value that you actually get to continually enjoy and grow with, because you decided a long time ago you're going to be disciplined and put money in those buckets to get there, well, then that's not lifestyle creep, because you saved up the money and you bought it. You didn't use credit, or you didn't spend beyond your means. You invested, you saved, you give, and you allocate a specific amount of money from those margins that you create in your budget for your specific intentional lifestyle enhancements. So maybe that's a trip you want to take to Europe or Asia or something. Or maybe it's a bigger, better truck or tractor or I don't know. You have expensive things that you like that you just choose. But anyways, if there's things that in your life that you intentionally want to spend money on, that's fine, as long as you've spent money on the plan to build the wealth in all the other areas first. So you paid off your debt, you're paying off your mortgage early, and you don't have any other consumer debt, and you're kind of working your way up. Then that lifestyle creep is an intentional thing. It's not creeping. It's actually an intentional bucket that you put money in because you deserve it, because actually you've taken care of all the other fronts. So lifestyle creep happens. Don't fall into the trap where you just accidentally end up upside down on an $80,000 truck. It's a terrible plan and you will lose your butt. Don't try to look rich. Focus on being rich. Raise your standard of living, and you will inevitably raise your standard of life. So if you create value for yourself and the people around you in your life, and for the people around them, their lives, and in your business and all the people in their lives, if you create value, you will inevitably grow in your wealth, because you have created more value, which is valuable. So it creates more value and it continues growing. This is kind of an exponential effect over time, which is really, really cool. But you have to start where you are and go upwards. But don't let lifestyle creep get into your head to where you created a little margin. Now you feel like a big shot, and now you're going to go buy that big thing that's way too expensive for the current position you're in. Be intentional about the position you're in with the wealth that you've got. Make sure the money is allocated specifically and percentage wise towards each of the wealth building areas: saving, spending, investing, giving, and lifestyle. And that you actually are growing each of those as proportion to what the period of your life demands in that area. So hopefully that wasn't confusing. If it is confusing, just ask me in the comments. I'll answer. All right, so this is the third one. People ignore their mindset. Now, this is a big one. What you believe about money matters a lot. Okay, so if you think wealth is wrong or impossible or is some way evil, you will have none. You will subconsciously sabotage your own success. If you allow yourself to think that there's something negative or some kind of negative implications around having money or growing wealth, well, them rich people, they're so pious and they're so self-righteous and they're just greedy. Well, I'm sorry to tell you this, but maybe you don't know this, but a lot of rich people, they give more money in their lifetime than you and I will ever even see. So, I mean, I've done some wealth building over the years, and because of that, we've got a little around here, but nothing there's always a mammoth of a wealth builder out there, and that you're just in awe of. And if you would hear how much those people give on an annual basis, you would be shocked. You'd be like, oh my gosh, that person, I mean, some of these people are like billions. They just give it. I may never see that in my entire life, but they just do it in a year, multiple. And you're like, oh my gosh. I mean, that's more than some countries' budgets in some places. So money takes on the characteristic of its owner. So having the right mindset about money and about wealth is completely critical. You have to start in this area by being willing to understand that your belief might not be fully true. There are some things that I believe now that 15 years ago, I completely rejected the thought of. But I heard a great pastor, his name is Craig Groeschel, and he said about every 5 years, I revisit some of the critical truths that I believe to really evaluate it. Is this something that's absolutely fundamentally true, or is this or is this a preference that I have that does not serve me well? Is this something that I learned along the way that really isn't true at all? And I think so many Christians get caught in this. Some of you Christians need to calm down a little bit. You're kind of oversaved, okay? And what I mean by that is, well, this is a hard one for the Christians out there. And I'm a Christian, by the way, and I believe in the Bible. And if you would classify me in the Christendom, you would say this guy's a conservative Christian. So that's who I am. But so many oversaved people, they say, well, you can't invest money because that is exacting usury. It's an old King James Version Bible. Interest. They says it means interest, but it actually means excessive interest on something. So, but when you get wealthy, you realize that everything that you have has value. So, for example, if you would rent out the toaster in your kitchen to your neighbor and charge them excessively to use your toaster, that would be usury. And in some senses, that would be sinful from the Bible's point of view, because you leased your toaster to your neighbor at an excessive rate of interest, and that wasn't right. You should have a fair and balanced rate for what you've offered, for what you get back. But so many Christians I have seen say, well, if it says usury, it means any form of interest whatsoever, you cannot invest. Well, if you just read it word for word, maybe you could come to that conclusion, maybe. But if you actually dig into it and dig into what the meaning is, you will understand that it is excessive interest. So if you charge excessive interest for your time, I'm not saying if you charge fair market value for the skills and talents you have. No, you should do that. You should charge fair market value for the skills and talents you have to the people who need your services. And that'll be great. You always have a job. But if you excessively receive money back on anything far in excess of what is normal or good, then you're not only inhibiting your ability to do that again in the future, but you're also being greedy. And that's not good. And that's the kind of stuff that the Bible says don't do. However, but if you're doing something in a fair market value situation and you're receiving interest back on that thing, well, then that's okay. And the Bible says it's okay too. But so many oversaved people, they read that and like, oh, usury means interest. That's it. We can't invest in anything. Look, you have to be willing to accept that you might not be right. And then look at the data and see what reality says around that issue. And then if the data says opposite of what you say, perhaps you should consider the other option. And so this is a really big problem for a lot of people because they don't think people like us can be rich. And I don't know why I'm saying an accent like that, but I grew up around a lot of very heavily accented people. So, and many of them didn't have much money, but there were a few heavily accented people that had a lot of money. So that's not a stereotype. In any case, what you say to yourself around the area of money really matters. And more importantly, I think, than what you say is what you think to yourself around money matters even more, because your life moves in the direction of your strongest thoughts. And so if your thoughts are, we can't get there, we might not, it's going to be bad, the future's going to look dark, I can't invest money, we'll never get ahead. If those are the strongest sentiments in your mind, you know where your life is going to move? Directly in that direction, right? In that downward spiral. But if you look out into the future and you say, you know what? The future is going to be better. There is a possibility for it to be brighter. If I get up and I go do some exercise today, tomorrow I might weigh a little bit less. If I don't overeat today and for the next 7 days and a week, my pants will be a little bit less snug and I'll have more energy. And you just, if you look forward into the future and you say, you know what, it might be a little brighter, and turn off the news, by the way, because that'll just depress the heck out of you. You look forward into the future and say, you know what, it might be a little brighter. I could get ahead if I really tried, if I learned some things. Maybe there's things that I don't know that are true that I don't believe yet, but I'm willing to be open to believing those things if they are actually true. So maybe I'll go in that direction if it's right, if it's good and true. So let's just at least be open. And then over time, the Bible has a really cool saying. It says, think on things that are pure, lovely, and of a good report. And if there's anything that whatsoever you could think on these things. And those are things that are good, lovely, and have a good report. And those are he never says fearful, negative, sad, ugly, painful, and anything that's depressive. but it always says, think on things that are good, lovely, of a good report. In the Bible, it says, set your heart, guide your heart in the way, focus it on something great, and just pursue it and get knowledge, get instruction, get wisdom with all you're getting. Count it as great riches to get understanding. And so many people don't apply that to their wealth building process and their mindset, but it's absolutely vital for that exact process and that exact area of their life. And I think that we suffer greatly because we don't apply that in our lives. And we don't have the discipline to ignore mindset items that might be keeping us from getting wealthy. And there's definitely plenty of them out there. All right, so the fourth one is trying to do everything alone. Independence is great. Isolation is not. Even the most successful entrepreneurs have people that help them build their business. I've got a bunch of people who are way smarter and faster and talented than I am in a lot of areas that I'm no good at. And I'm just fine with them being amazing at those things. As long as I'm good on my side and do what I do well, and they do what they do incredibly well, we prosper, right? That's what's called a team. Everybody has talents and skills that complement each other. And it's just fine if somebody else is really good at a thing I really like to be good at, but I'm not. And I can be humble enough to say, you know what, you're really good at that thing. You're actually better than I am. So, go ahead and rock that thing. And I will support you in whatever way I can, even if I'm the owner of the company. So keep that in your mind. Independence is great, but isolation is not. Build together. All right, start investing consistently. Now, this is something that so many people struggle with. And the amazing thing about building wealth is that you can build so much wealth over a long time if you just invest consistently. It blows your mind. You can start investing like a couple $100 per month when you're 20, and it'll be millions by the time you're 65. So there's nobody in America that should ever retire broke. And you could just invest in a lame-o S&P 500 fund and you'll be there. You'll get to the mark. But so many people don't do this, and it's the consistency over time. And I know that it's difficult because life is difficult in so many areas, and sometimes we have great periods of our lives, and it's wonderful. You have all kinds of margin, where it's time margin, energy margin, decision-making power margin, or a financial margin. And other times in your life, you don't feel like you've got any. And so that's why it's so important to set up rhythms in your life that just happen. You've pre-decided you are a person who invests consistently. Like for me, I'm a person who runs 3 times a week. Okay, minimum of 2, but my goal is 3 times a week. So I'm a person who runs 15 plus kilometers 3 times a week. That's just who I am. And so when I go down to run, I don't have to decide anymore. It's just who I am. And when my investments go out to their funds, I don't decide. They just go because I'm a person who invests. And barring all the information out there in the marketplace and the seasonal fear tactics of whatever media is trying to blow the politics in one direction or the other, it doesn't matter because I'm a person who invests incrementally over the long period of time. That's who I am. Pre-decided that. I set up the systems that work, and it just goes on in my life and happens again and again and again. And by the way, I have to plan because I know that those investments are going out. So I have to plan all the other areas of my life to make sure that when the time comes for the money to go there, that it's actually there. So invest consistently over time and put systems in place that allow that to happen. Don't be one of those who invests periodically as you feel like it and as you feel like the market is good to invest in. You will get burned. You will not outperform the market. You will underperform. And when the going gets tough, you will pull out at the wrong time and most likely lose most of your money, lose more than you could gain in the long term. So put your money in the 4 types of mutual funds, or it could be real estate of some kind, or it could be a farm. As long as it's a profitable farm, it has to be profitable. I know this area because I'm a farmer too. I have a translation, interpretation, and digital services company online, and that's really cool. And the business consulting side. But I also have a farm, and I love farming. It's one of the things that I love the most in life. It's my hobby, and so I do that on the side and do all kind of little projects in that farming sector. But it has to be profitable. In order for it to stay in our life, it must be a plus. It can't be a drain on our cash. It has to be a positive venture. And believe me, I've gone through the negative, and then I had to get it into the positive or shut it down. I gave myself that ultimatum, right? And you have to give yourself the ultimatum too, to invest consistently. Investing consistently means you're investing something that works, that has a track record of working, and that is profitable. So if it's going to be a farm, it better be profitable. You can't just invest in a money-losing farm and call it investing. That's not investing, that's speculation, and that's stupid. So don't do that. The safest type of investing is in mutual funds, and those are a very good place to put your long haul investments. Okay, this is not short term. This is the long term. Don't ever. I mean, if you're investing for less than 5 years, just don't do it. If you're preferably 30, okay, if you're going to put money in anything, preferably you should, just it's going to be in there 30 years. You're going to be putting money in there 30 years or longer, because the longer the money that is there, the more compounding effects has over the long term. So this is a money belief that if you don't have it right in your life and you're not doing it consistently each and every month, you're going to get burned and you're going to lose money and you're going to wonder why you don't have more wealth than you do. Small, consistent contributions outperform the big ones. All right, the sixth item on our list is not stacking your skills. Okay, if you don't have skills that you stack, meaning you build this, you have this skill and you put another skill and you build another skill and you build another skill. The more valuable you are, the more valuable you get to the marketplace, the more value you can add to the marketplace, and the marketplace pays for added value. The better you serve, the more skills that you have, the better you can serve, and higher quality service it will be to others. Hence, they will pay you more for the higher quality service you provide to them. People don't care about what you know and how many skills you have. They care about how you can serve them and what value you can add to their life. And if you have only one skill or two skills and you can't add anything except to your own life, you can just write stuff for yourself and that's about it. You don't know how to write copy or write marketing and sales copy or write emails that can go out and engage clients from someone else's product that's not even yours, then you can't add incredible value to the world around you. But if you learn to stack those, like, okay, so I can copyright. All right, so what else I can do? Well, I can learn how to be an engaging email creator and writer and work to do an incredible sales emails for different products. Okay, that's great. Now learn that skill. All right, now I can learn how to talk to people on the phone about that same thing. Okay, learn that skill and do that. Now I can learn what the nuts and bolts are of the programs are required to be able to distribute this content in massive form to many. Okay, now you've got some skills. And now people will pay you pretty big bucks for that set of skills. So you stacked one skill upon the other, and now you've got something that very valuable that you can hand to somebody. They will pay you for that and maybe even pay you commission for being able to get sales through that venue you're selling. So your ability to add value, because you now have stacked skills in your person that you can actually engage with the marketplace and add value there, it will pay you for that. So stack your skills. You must stack your skills. You need to learn how to stack your skills. If you're a leader, you need to learn how to build trust in your team. You need to learn how to communicate vision. You need to learn how to create vision and mission for your company. You need to learn how to have the discipline to be the chief reminding officer and just stack. There's thousands of skills that you need to master in order to be able to hold that position. And so if you want to be one of those people that hold that position, you need to learn what skills that those people have and then start mastering them. Just start practicing, mastering them. Practice them with your family, your colleagues, your team that you're currently working in. And over time, you will see an incredible result. The more skills, the better service to others, the more money you make. All right, this is a big one, and I don't think it's talked about it enough. And this is my final one for today. It's giving. People forget to give, and sometimes they just don't have margin to give. But this is not spoken about enough. There's a Jewish and biblical principle that talks about giving. It's the baseline that the Bible talks about giving is 10% of what you make. That's where you start. And then you can do whatever beyond that. But they're like, all right, if you can't scrape 10% out of your margin of your life, then it means you're cutting it too close. You need to create a little more value in the marketplace so that you can scrape that 10% out and be able to give it to someone somewhere. If you're not a churchgoer or you don't go to a temple, well, then you can just find somebody to give 10% to. I mean, there's people all over the place that have needs. Heck, pay somebody's phone bill or pay somebody's debt off or help somebody with a car repair. I mean, they're everywhere. There's needs for people are everywhere. But the Jews have the idea that when you give, you hold your hand like this and money can leave your hand, but it can also come back into your life, just symbolizing the fluidity of money, that it can come and go. You open like a pathway for money leaving you, but you also open that same conduit for it to return. Now that's in the Jewish realm of thinking, but in the Bible area of thinking, it's about gratitude, creating a spirit of gratefulness for all that you have been given, And that sets the tone. It puts you in a frame of mind saying, you know what, I'm so grateful for what I have, that I have extra that I can give to others. And now I can take what I've given to others and it can prosper in their life. In my personal opinion, I believe in God and I believe in Jesus, and I thank God and Jesus for the things that He's given me. And I maintain that posture, and out of gratitude, we're like, oh my gosh, God has given so much. So why don't we have that posture of being able to give to those needs around us? And God is a good God, and He's going to continue blessing us so we can maintain that posture. And so that's kind of my mentality around it. But nevertheless, there's a baseline that you should put in your life, I think, for everybody, no matter your position of faith, to where you are looking around. It helps you to keep an open mind to your environment, which is also a requirement for you to be able to grow wealth, because you have to be able to acknowledge and see what's going on around you. Put your phone down and actually scan the environment and see what the opportunities there are that might be around you. You might find you're the only one looking around and you're like, oh my gosh, there's a gaping opportunity over here. And everybody else is down here on their phones, just looking at their phones, where you're like, hey, there's a freaking awesome opportunity. And nobody even hears you because they're just focused on something else. And you see the opportunity because you're actually focused on the people around you, because you're like, man, I want to help somebody because I got this 10% here and I need to give it to somebody who has a need. And you find somebody with a need and you help them. But while you're searching, you actually, hey, you know what? There's a thing over here that I could do a deal, and that might work. And then all of a sudden you've got a little side hobby that can turn into a business. So 10% is about having an outward perspective, being grateful to the one who has given you all things, and being a positive light on the world around you. And anytime you do that, you're opening the channels, the conduit for yourself to be able to grow in wealth and value to the community that you live in. So these are the 7 main areas that really and truly impact wealth and your ability to build it. And so if you want to build wealth, start here. If you would leave a few comments below, which ones you're great at. And at the same time, you could also put in here which ones that you struggle with. Or if you have a question around any of them, if I didn't explain it enough, please feel free to like, comment, and then subscribe, and then just say, hey, could you explain more about this? I'd love to hear your perspective on this, or just let me know and I will further enhance that with another video, or just answer you in the comment sections. So thanks for watching this video. If you want to learn more about growing wealth, being wealthy, and building long-term sustainable wealth, like and subscribe to this channel. I'll see you in the next video.